Granger continues high-level talks with leader of the opposition. Stabro bloc estimates exceed 24 trillion Guyana dollars, and students welcome the prospect of free education from nursery to university. This is Infohub Recap. Stay with us for the next half an hour as we take you through major stories covered the period August 5 to 9.
The future of Guyana has never looked better. Our nation is on the cusp of a development program like never seen before. While Guyana is now emerging as an energy giant through the discovery of massive reserves of oil and natural gas, it is your government's intention that the huge benefits emerging from this will go where it matters most, to you, the people of this beloved country. There is a surge of confidence in the way Guyana is governed once again, and the level of investor interest is unprecedented. Guyana is poised to become the breadbasket of the region, and the pace at which this nation will grow through prudent fiscal management will be nothing short of impressive. But more than anything else will be the way every Guyanese, regardless of color, class, or creed, becomes a part of this historic period of national transformation, sharing in the wealth and well-being of it all as one Guyana.
Thanks for joining us. His Excellency President David Granger continues to engage with the leader of the opposition in the interest of the country. On Friday, the two met for high-level talks.
Elections could not be credible without a credible list, so said President David Granger following a meeting with the opposition leader Bart Jagdeo. The president said he indicated that reference was made to his meeting with the GCOM chair, Justice Claudia Singh retired, and her commissioners, where she stated that she was awaiting the Chief Justice's judgment of the legality of the house-to-house registration process and a subsequent meeting with her commissioners. He stated that while the government and opposition are working towards a consensual outcome, quote, they have not altered positions.
Government position has not changed. That we are pursuing a course that can guarantee a credible list and will be the basis of credible elections, and the opposition position has not changed. But we are working towards seeking a common ground so that the Guyanese people can be assured that we will have credible elections in the shortest possible time.
Winging Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Joseph Harmon, said there was no agreement on any possible elections date. He added that the President will not be naming a date that would be impractical for GCOM to accomplish.
So all that can be done is for us to help the Commission to arriving at a position which, given the resources at their availability and given their own institutional arrangements within the Commission, will determine how best and how early they can provide the information with respect to a date for elections. The President made it clear that he would like to see early elections and that he has provided all of the resources that the Elections Commission require.
The head of state reiterated the accepted position that GCOM is central to this process, which is entirely in its hands.
I will continue to abide by the Constitution and pay attention to what the chairman of the Election Commission will advise me to do. So we are aware of the dates, we are aware of the deadlines that have been mentioned in the media, but what we are not aware of is the decision of the Commission. And everything hangs on what we are told by the chairman speaking on behalf of the Commission.
Another meeting is scheduled where the issues raised between the two sides will be examined in greater detail after the expected August 14 High Court ruling. Paul McAdam for Infohub.
The head of state had yet another busy week as he met with the newly appointed GCOM chair and its commissioners on Thursday. During this meeting, he reasserted his administration's commitment to respecting the independence of GCOM and will continue to support its constitutional mandate to host free, fair, and credible elections.
On August 8th, following what is described as a very brief meeting between the officials of the Guyana Elections Commission and top government representatives, President David Granger reiterated his assurance of government's commitment to continue upholding the independence of the Guyana Elections Commission.
Although it is early in the tenure of the new chairman, I don't think it was inappropriate to meet at this time to give her the assurance that the government is going to continue to observe the independence of the Election Commission. It will not dictate, it will not interfere, it will not intrude in the work of the Commission. It will observe all of the roles and responsibilities of the Commission given to it by the Constitution.
The coalition government's stance to uphold GECOM's independence and fully support its work was also echoed by the Director General.
The President made it clear that we were interested in early elections and in credible elections, and that the government will not dictate in any way to the Commission how they will do their work. The Commission will advise government, advise His Excellency the President on what they perceive to be the issues, and the chairman did in fact commit to having met with the full commission at their meeting on the 15th of August, that she will thereafter communicate to His Excellency the position of the commission.
In response to a question about the case before the courts on the legality of the ongoing house-to-house registration process, President Granger said he will be guided accordingly.
Our concern is with credible elections, and we have said over and over again that if the list is flawed, it must be corrected. It is for the Commission to say how it will correct that list. But as leader of the People's National Congress Reform, as chairman of a Partnership for National Unity, as president of Guyana, we are interested in credible elections. And this has been said repeatedly, and that is what we are aiming at. So we will accept any formula, or any rule, or any decision which satisfies the requirements for credible elections.
President David Granger and a high-level team are due to meet the opposition leader and his team on August 9.
The CCJ was quite clear that it would issue no coercive orders and it cannot direct the Commission when to hold elections. If ballot papers have not yet been printed, can I tell the Commission to have elections on the 18th of August if they have not printed ballot papers? This is what I describe as the Abuja scenario, where on the morning of elections, the Election Commission called the government of Nigeria and said, we're not ready. I shall wait on the advice of the Commission.
The Cabinet will continue to function in the interest of the country. Public Security Minister, the Honorable Kemraj Ramjatan, stated this recently. The minister also criticized the opposition for attempting to confuse the public by continuously spreading erroneous information.
Minister Ramjatan, who was at the time being interviewed on the Voice of Guyana's radio program Insight, said Cabinet will continue until the next election occurs. The Caribbean Court of Justice, he said, made it crystal clear in its consequential order that the government remains.
We still have to run the country. It is not Bar Jagdeo and Irfan Ali will run the country. Who then runs the country if they're saying that we have to resign? And if Ramjatan is to resign, well, I could formally tender my resignation to the president. Who does President Granger tender his resignation to?
The minister highlighted that the rulings of the CCJ gave the government an interim status, as he described the confusion that the opposition is trying to spread as senseless.
You do not have to formally resign. It simply means that, as Article 106.7 says, you shall resign upon the new swearing in of that new president. And that is when you shall. So the president is intact, cabinet is intact, and the CCJ made it quite clear. Government must never be in a vacuum. You cannot have a void in governance. And what it means then is that the president and the executive branch, which is the cabinet, must be in existence.
President Granger, in response to a letter requesting the government resign from office, has advised the leader of the opposition that neither he nor his cabinet will resign. Isaiah Braffett for Infohub.
The singling out of Haitians legally entering the country has been used as a political ploy by opposition elements. During a radio interview, Prime Minister the Honorable Moses Nagamutu condemned such stratagem used to secure votes. He also noted that it is an irresponsible act to instill hatred for one set of people against the other, and has called for a cessation of this action.
Stop this nonsense. Stop the hate against the Haitian. Do not use them as political footballs. Do not use them as scapegoat in your quest for political power. And do not incite our people against the Haitians.
The Prime Minister made this call during an interview on Insight on Voice of Guyana VOG 102.5 FM. He explained that the movement from a lower economy to a higher economy for betterment is part of our human nature and happens across all continents of the world.
Haitians are Caribbean citizens. They're our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. They have a right to move anywhere where they perceive they could have a better life, because that's the dialectics of movements in the world.
The Prime Minister called out the political opposition and urged Guyanese to be vigilant and not to fall prey to the hatred being peddled.
The opposition elements in this country are irresponsible, political opposition, and their allies and their friends to use the statistics as if the Haitians are coming here and they're doing a disappearing act and that they are being registered to vote in the next election. This is racism. This is xenophobia. This is instilling hatred of one set of people against another. And we have seen where this had taken the world. We should celebrate the fact that so many people are coming to this country because the country is a better place.
For Infohub, Rebecca Ganesh.
Guyana is on track to becoming one of the wealthiest countries in the world. The total estimated income from the 13 discoveries made so far by ExxonMobil at the Stabroek Block is now anticipated to be more than 24 trillion Guyana dollars.
This is according to a report from Oil Now, who spoke to Shriner Parker, Rystad Energy's vice president for Latin America and the Caribbean. The projection is based on analysis of production from all discoveries made so far over the life of the 6.6 million acres Stabroek Block. Parker explained the entirety of that production was examined and was modeled against the government's take. Quote, using our proprietary price forecast, looking forward, we're then able to say how much a barrel of oil is going to be worth through the entirety of life of production, and then we're able to associate the percentage of government take associated with each barrel back to the government in dollar term. End of quote. Rystad Energy's income projection is based on an updated 6.4 billion barrels of oil equivalent estimate it had made for the Stabroek Block, which takes into account the 13 discoveries made by ExxonMobil to date. In 2018, Rystad Energy's estimated income from what at the time was a total of 8 discoveries at Stabroek stood at about $100 billion. The report noted that projection for the block will continue to increase as more discoveries are made. ExxonMobil had recently disclosed that it could drill as much as 4 wells by year-end as it continues to search for more oil. Ongoing exploration at the Jethro Loeb prospect at Orunduk will be followed by a campaign at Joe Den Karapa prospect on the Kanuku license in the third quarter of 2019, where Tullow is partnering with Repsol. CGX Energy Incorporated has entered into a definite rig agreement and is expected to commence drilling on the Utakawa 1 well in its Corentyne block before the end of the year. The heightened activities further increase the potential for multiple additional discoveries offshore Guyana, adding to the already substantial revenue government is set to receive from Stabroek. For Infohub, Anara Khan.
The coalition government is not in breach of Guyana's constitution by remaining in office until elections are held. In fact, following the Caribbean Court of Justice's ruling, the Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, the Honorable Basil Williams, explained that the ruling meant and how the government was expected to function in accordance with the Constitution, noting that a government must be there until the next elections are held. This information was reiterated recently at a forum.
We are a law-abiding country, a law-abiding government. And no less a person than the president himself has always maintained that we will obey court orders, and we are obeying court orders. So it is erroneous to suggest that we are in breach of the Constitution, we are not resigning, etc.
The Attorney General was at the time speaking at an organized forum hosted by the Ghana Marriott Hotel and facilitated by the American Chamber of Commerce in Ghana, AmCham Guyana. As he delved into the subject, A.G. Williams said continued speculation and purposeful misinterpretation of the CCJ ruling is an insult.
It's insultive to the CCJ, the apex court, to actually disavow its ruling and apply all kinds of tenditious thoughts to what the people actually ruled.
During the Monday evening business discussion, Senior Counsel Williams again relayed that Ghana's constitution provides for an extension of time to host general and regional elections. Turning to business, he said it was also careless to continuously speak of a doomsday economy in Ghana, as the country is one of 5 fastest growing economies in the world.
Guyana is the fastest growing of 5 fastest growing countries in the world, our economy. And we are not saying as a government, you know who said that. And so all of this doomsday sayings and utterances that we're having about our government, I don't know where it's coming from. But you cannot be the fastest growing economy in the world and you're saying that there's a downturn in our economy. All of the business that is being given out in connection with oil and gas, all that spending is impacting the economy. And therefore, it is fallacious to allege that there's a downturn in business.
Felicia Valenzuela, Infohub.
Students of the University of Guyana are anticipating the removal of fees. This follows President David Granger's announcement that revenues collected from the petroleum industry would be best spent on making education free to Guyanese from nursery to university.
I was intrigued. I was kind of excited because knowing the struggles of a UG student and the multiple stuff you had to pay for.
I would say that it would be something great, that way we won't have to pay this exorbitant fee. Well, as you would know, master's is quite more expensive than the bachelor's, so that would be great because doing your master's free would be quite lovely.
It's a real good thing because right now I'm a cash student and it's really hard in my pocket. So if the university become free, then there's a plus for me and others who can't afford it.
The university students also expressed their opinions on the expected impact on education in Guyana.
The most important resources is our human resources, so when we start developing those human resources, we can develop other resources like infrastructure and other things. I think it will raise the education rates, the passes and the success rates because money will be invested properly into the students and so on.
I think we're going to see much more productive youths, much more research projects, much more business ideas on the whole from Guyana, from the youths especially.
A lot more people will become more qualified, people who want a chance to come but don't have the opportunity to because of the fees and stuff.
This person who can't afford it will now want to take up the challenge to study.
Reported from the University of Guyana with videographer Kenyan Bacchus, Shaquille Bourne, for Infohub.
Still in the education sector, Minister of Education, the Honorable Dr. Nicolette Henry, says curriculum reform is an essential part of the push to further develop Guyana's education system.
The Education Minister was at the time sharing some insights into the various developments and aspects of the local education system during her appearance on a radio program.
We believe that education is a very important component of human development and that the only way we can truly develop and invest in our people is through education. I was heartened to hear His Excellency speak about the possibility of free education as outlined in the Constitution from nursery to university. I look forward to the day when as Minister of Education I'll have an opportunity to once again be associated with free education from nursery to university.
The minister is optimistic that the delivery of education will continuously improve.
I would work assiduously with my team to ensure that access is not an issue and that whether you live in the most remote part of Guyana or on the coastline, we will work to ensure that you have access to the best quality of education in Guyana, because we know and we recognize that the lives of our people will be tremendously impacted in a positive way if they have access to quality education.
Curriculum reforms, smart classrooms, early childhood programs, the reintegration of teen mothers into the school system, ICT-trained teachers, employment of specialist educators, and standardized training in modern techniques are just some of the measures being implemented by the Education Ministry to improve the sector. Paul McCallum for Infohub.
Minister of Social Protection, the Honorable Amna Ali, opened a training exercise for 40 facilitators who will be involved in a social skills pilot program to benefit youths.
Our youth need to be guided strategically to help them develop sound judgment and good habits for long-term stability, wellness, and success, so that they can make positive choices that contribute to a meaningful life and one in which we can build a very strong adolescent community on which the nation can depend on.
At the opening of the training exercise held at the National Racket Center, Minister Ali told the facilitators that their actions today will help to determine the country's future.
Our actions today will determine their world of tomorrow.
This initiative is a collaborative effort between Guyanese United to Serve Our Youth, GUTSI, the Ministry of Social Protection, and other stakeholders. The facilitators come from Sapphire U Empowerment Group, Islamic Academy, Juzel Academy, and the community of Minamir Zorg. GUTSI President Janice Hall said that while education plays a major factor in youth development, skills such as social and emotional intelligence are necessary for them to achieve their full potential. And this was the premise for the establishment of the organization.
So We Are GUTSI is a movement aimed at helping parents and guardians provide children with the social and emotional skills needed to grow to their potential. We Are GUTSI aims to be a positive influence on Guyanese youth through dialogue, instruction, and mentorship, so as to encourage an improvement in attitudes and behaviors so they become responsible adults making better choices.
Following this training exercise, the coaching exercise for the young people will commence August 7th to the 9th at the National Track and Field Center and Leonora Secondary School. They will be joined by a team from the Child Protection Agency and youth ambassadors from the Rights of the Child Commission. Neola Damon, Infohub.
The government remains committed to infrastructure development across the country. During a recent trip to Madhya, Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable David Patterson, reported that works on the internal road network are well underway.
As the Prime Minister was mentioned, in 2013, 2014, we were in opposition. Right where we're standing now was a dirt track. And at that time, the opposition had controlled this particular region, Region 8. And we had actually staged protests. The Prime Minister reminded me this morning, protests on this exact same road because of the condition it was in. The school, right in front of the school, it was in an abysmal state. So one of the first projects we embarked on, our urban upgrade, was to rigid pave Madhya. We spent about almost $1 billion in all, and we continue to spend that money. So we've done all the roads in the township, and then of course now the tenders that are out now, it's a go from where it's stopped now all the way to the airstrip.
Minister Patterson says there are other plans for Region 8, like a solar energy plant. But regards to the road, of course, he says government has plans for the road coming into Madhya. And of course, an engineer is charged with looming that road on a yearly basis.
This is in keeping with our vision for what a town should look like. Not because we're a mining town and it's deemed a mining town, that it should look a mining town, or should it feel like a mining town.
From Madhya in Region 8, along with videographer Leon Leung, Felicia Valenzuela, Infohub.
Meanwhile, residents of Leg 1 are now traversing the upgraded road from Endeavour to Amsterdam. The Minister of Public Infrastructure was commended by residents on the island for the work done. and also for the rehabilitation of a mud dam.
Currently, we're standing on the newly improved road in Amsterdam. We caught up with a resident that brought up the issue of the roads at a recent government outreach to get her feedback.
They listen. At least I spoke and someone listened. And we have a strip now on a proper road, and I'm very happy, and I would like to thank the government.
With respect to the rehabilitated mud dam, Yogita is relieved that her children now have a suitable terrain to traverse on their way to school.
When they're coming out, no more mud.
Some other residents living between Endeavour and Amsterdam also gave their opinions.
Since I know myself, a little girl going up this part of the road from Endeavour to Amsterdam, never done, but they only grade it. But I'm so happy now for the resident of Endeavour and Leguan to get a perfect road, and I think that is a good job.
Since I'm a little girl, I never see this road like this. This is the very first time, and I'm glad for this road. I'm glad for this road. Since all them previous government, nobody never do this road, but this government that take charge now, give us a road, and I'm glad.
District 3 engineer within Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Sinarain Nandram, spoke about the scope of the works that have been undertaken.
We expended in excess of $16 million to upgrade from a crusher run road to the asphalted concrete road, and the design life expectancy of this road is approximately 5 years. With care, it can decrease if people do get careless, and it's subject to heavy machinery usage.
Engineer Nandram also mentioned some other areas that will benefit from future road upgrades.
From Amsterdam to Canefield will be upgraded in 2020 from a sand road to a crusher run road.
Reported from the agricultural island of Leguan with videographer Leon Leong, Shaquille Bourne for Infohub.
The first female president of the National Mining Syndicate, Cheryl Williams, said she's extremely proud that a year after her election to the post, the organization has launched its constitution.
This ensures that we are effectively and meaningfully represented in all mining districts, working towards a safer and more efficient and sustainable industry, focusing on sound environmental practices that will assist in preserving Guyana's rich biodiversity and ecological corridors. That includes wildlife, waterways, and forestry.
The legal document will ensure proper conduct in the sector, and according to Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman, today's launch marks the culmination of many months of hard work.
So I encourage you always, members of the syndicates, to focus on the original intent of those who brought it into being. Why did they want, or do you want today a constitution? And what do you today, and what will you intend to achieve from it in the future?
Minister Trotman says the launch is also in keeping with the government's commitment to the National Mining Syndicate umbrella body and its constituent members, and a salute to miners everywhere.
Mining, I should say, is a part of our socio-economic fabric of Guyana and of its tapestry. Miners, mining, and the resources extracted are, in our view, the cradle of this economy.
Felicia Valenzuela, Infohub.
Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, the Honorable Sidney Allicock, has sounded a clarion call for Indigenous peoples to carve out their own niche as they work towards the development of Guyana.
The message was delivered this morning at the media launch of the 2019 Indigenous Heritage Month of activities. Minister Allicock said Indigenous Guyanese must maintain their purpose while building Guyana.
We need to be able to carve or to create our own identity, which is blended in the Guyanese society. Something that is special. We should be we. We should be able to understand the value of what we have and not to give it up for anything else.
Under the theme, maintaining our traditional practices while promoting a green economy, this year's celebration seeks to support the preservation and the safeguarding of Indigenous cultures and practices. Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Valerie Garrido-Lowe, stressed the need for the preservation of Indigenous languages. This is something that has been recognized by the United Nations, which is also designated 2019 as the International Year of Indigenous Languages.
The majority of the languages being threatened of extinction are spoken by indigenous peoples. According to the United Nations estimate, every 2 weeks an indigenous language disappears. This worrying trend puts the respective indigenous cultures and knowledge systems at great risks.
The Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs has been conducting a range of activities to ensure the languages are preserved. The official Long Month celebration commences on August 31st with a religious service at the Umanayana. The ceremonial launch of Heritage Month will take place on September 1 at the Heritage Village. Other activities include a cultural extravaganza, art exhibition, heritage sport and pageant. The indigenous community will also remember the first indigenous parliamentarian, the late Stephen Campbell. Reporting for Infohub, Alexis Rodney.
Before we close, here is your GCOM tip of the day. To know when the house-to-house registration team will be in your community, call telephone number 225-027729 or 223-9653. Remember to get registered. This has been Infohub Recap, which looked at major stories carried between August 5 to 9. Remember to subscribe to our website for more stories and follow us on our social media platforms. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Goodbye.